this is starting to look really nice now with the full OG profile. And when I get near the end, I do each one twice because I find that the wood wants to rise up off the router bit when you're cutting so much wood. You almost always get a little more wood on the second time through. Okay, so this is starting to look pretty close to 1/4 inch. Let's see how it fits in the rail itself. Okay, so here's one of my rails to test with. Now it doesn't go in yet. If it's going to fit, it almost always fits, you know, when you just test a corner like that. But it's awfully close. Okay, if just the corner goes in, but then when you try to fit the whole thing, it won't, then that means you're very close and just need a touch more. We can even take a quick measurement on the thickness of this using a dial caliper. Now this groove was supposed to be 1/4 inch wide based on a 1/4 inch rotor bit, but let's see what it really is. Yeah, it's about 1/4 thou over a 1/4 inch, so 0.254 roughly. And if I check the very edge of this, and we're at about 74. That means we have 20/1000ths of an inch to go. I'm checking in a few places. Actually here I'm getting a much smaller reading, as if I only have 10 or 11 to go. So there may be some inconsistency. Sometimes you're not pushing down hard enough with the pad near the bit, you know, so the wood kind of rides up and it doesn't cut as deeply. Now on my router fine adjust, I can move as little as 4 thou up at a time. So maybe I'll raise it up, let's say 12 thou, 3 segments, and then I'll test it again. Okay. One other thing I wanted to mention is now you have this massive area that is missing underneath the panel. So you can't put your push pad over that area, right? It's very dangerous because if you suddenly went like that while cutting, you would suddenly cut very deep and it could throw it right back at you. So think about where that routed profile is underneath and don't go over top of it. Stay just inside. Okay, but I also can't have my hand way back here when cutting over there because the panel will ride up with all that cutting force. It'll just come up like that and won't cut the proper depth. All right, let's do it one more time. I'll just raise that bit a touch and see what happens. All right, so I'm going to always turn it on before you raise it on the off chance you're actually going to hit this. Then you can just cut your way into it too at the same time. Use a mallet if you need to. Close it. Now's the panel time. Panel's labeled which way is up, and obviously the bevel goes towards the front of the door, which is facing me right now. I'll bring that in. And then this one here. Okay, now we need to remember to put glue in these holes. I remember one project where I clamped something together. The next morning when I unclamped it, I noticed the joint separated slightly. And I thought, wow, how could the glue let go already? And then I realized I forgot to put the glue in the second half. I just popped it right in. Well, luckily, it wasn't something that couldn't be taken apart. It was just a single joint or something, so it wasn't trapped, but it's easy to do things like that when you're in a big rush. Okay, So we'll distribute that. Wipe off excess glue so we don't get squeeze out. And this faces me as well. You're looking at the back of the door right now. You need both ends to go in at the same rate. Okay. All right, so it's put together. Now we need to put 2 clamps on. Always put the clamps with the pipe on the front of the door. Just get a couple of beams on here. Just to suspend it up in the air a little bit and get the clamps on a little easier. So we're going to put that pipe touching the wood, centered on the width of the rail, and then turn the handle. Now you're only turning the handle till you see that the joint is closed. If you keep turning, you're just going to start bending the parts. There's no point in overloading it. And then we'll do the other side.